Hi, I'm Jason Hope, Chief Content Officer at HowStuffWorks. Can you really write a letter, email, or call the president? We're here at the White House and we're going to find out. Communicating with the White House has changed a lot since Thomas Jefferson moved in 1801. The White House of today has to keep up with the expanding technologies that drive communication in the digital age, and look to the future to prepare for the next way that constituents will reach out to the president and the U.S. government. So how exactly has the White House transformed into a modern-day social network? Top talent from Silicon Valley has been brought on board to ensure that the administration stays current and active across multiple platforms. For example, the White House now has its first Chief Digital Officer, Jason Goldman. If you don't know his name, you do know his work. He was a driving force behind the development of Medium, Blogger, and Twitter.
So I worked in startups for 14 years before coming here. This is my first job in government. But I think the thing that's really surprising is that it's more similar than it is different. You've got really creative people who are trying to tackle really large problems. And those are the type of problems that we get to work on every day here at the White House.
The current U.S. Chief Technology Officer, Megan Smith, came to her job from Google, working on projects like Google Earth, Google Maps, Google Crisis Response, and Google's Tech Diversity Initiatives.
I got an email from a colleague asking me to come talk to them, and it had never occurred to me, which is interesting, this idea of tours of duty for the tech and digital people. We need to have that. It hadn't occurred to me. So I said, what, go to Washington? And so as I heard more about the problems, the challenges, the opportunities, what we could accomplish, it's of course incredibly intriguing. And so now being on the inside of that, this is some of the most meaningful work you can do. The federal government has such a great impact and the scale on the lives of the American people in the world, that if we can work together with the extraordinary colleagues here, economists and policy teammates, communicators, lawyers, others, and bring the tech skills to that, we can really do amazing things together.
Social media has made it easier than ever to connect with friends, family, and businesses. And the White House has added social media to its repertoire to ensure that people can reach the president and government in the same way as they reach out to anyone else. If there's a social network, the White House is likely already there.
President Roosevelt got the fireside chat and the ability to go into radio, straight into your living room and be speaking with you once a week. And so President Obama gets a Twitter handle.
One of the initiatives created to give the average citizen a voice in government in a responsive, real-time way is the We the People petition platform.
One of the most remarkable things we did was launch the We the People petitions platform, which is a way for people to directly engage with the government and talk about issues that really matter to them, to get their fellow citizens to sign a petition. It's interesting, the right to petition is enshrined in the Constitution, but the means to do it isn't specified. And I feel it's one of the great tools that the internet can provide is the ability to actually rally people to a cause.
This and other digital initiatives are all about making the government more accessible. But for all the advances in technology and the responsiveness of social media, some citizens prefer old school communication, and those avenues have to be maintained as well. The White House has had a phone since 1877, but it's safe to say that then President Rutherford B. Hayes could never have envisioned just how ubiquitous phone communication would become in a relatively short amount of time. The modern-day version of the classic switchboard is not what you might imagine. Today's White House switchboard is housed in a relatively small office, but the responsibility of the staffers there is huge. They're on call 24/7, 365, so that connections can be made any hour of the day or night, and they have to be able to deal with sensitive and private information. But even good old-fashioned letter writing is still a common way that people share their thoughts with the White House. That means there's a team on hand to handle the thousands of letters that are sent to the president every day. Not only are all of those notes and letters read and sorted, but as is the practice of this administration, 10 of them, both good and bad, are selected and sent directly to President Obama. The president reads those 10 and often responds personally.
The 10 letters a day is something the president asked for the first day he took office. So much of what we see about the president's interactions with the mail is based on what he writes on them and how he writes back, rather than hearing him talk about it. Based on the length at which he writes back, really engages with folks who disagree with him, but in a thoughtful way. He writes on note cards that are 4x6 cards, and they are usually one-sided if it's a supporter, and two-sided if there's a little bit of a critique in there. Part of the way that we make folks know that they're heard by the government is we do try to lift up some stories, and that's something that the Office of Digital Strategy gives us a whole bunch of new ways to do. There's one that is among my favorites, but not my favorite, from a guy named Curtis who wrote in 2013, and his husband had had a heart condition, had contracted the flu, which led to pneumonia, and ultimately had a heart attack. And he had not been able to get health insurance because of his pre-existing condition. And so Curtis was writing to the president to say that he was grateful to know that other people, although it had been too late for his husband, would be able to get coverage even if they had a pre-existing condition. What makes it my favorite is it has this one line in it that says, "This is just one story, Mr. President, but it's our story," and that is like what we're going for.
As you can see, the modern White House is its own sophisticated social network, blending traditional communication with the latest technology to create a comprehensive suite of connection points so that people just like you can have your voice heard in government. As new ways to share ideas develop and take root, the White House of tomorrow will have to go right alongside the tech industry to keep up with an ever-evolving, socially vocal world. So that was pretty amazing. We took a look inside the White House, the switchboard, and really where the White House is going with digital and social communications. Thanks for joining us, and as always, join us every day at now.howstuffworks.com.